Hello everyone. Let me get into my little jump box here. Been a busy day. Hopefully everybody has been busy as well. And let's see. Yep, there we go. So let's jump in and see if we've found our lot of things still left up. Here we go. Let's look at our poll gab and make sure we can either see that it's got some questions or we will talk about a nice topic that is all about scripting. All right. Hopefully everybody has had a great day so far. Or maybe it's nighttime for you now, but hopefully it's been a great day, as days sometimes get awesome. But I spent some time last weekend at SQL Saturday Ohio North, and Ohio North is formerly SQL Saturday Cleveland, which was fun. Got to see a lot of my friends and stuff and people that were there. And I ran into a man named Jeffrey Moden. I don't know if you've ever heard of Jeff Moden, but out there on LinkedIn, you'll see that he's got the rebar little icon as his avatar. And he's the one that did a presentation on GUIDs and the fun that happens with there. We're going to look him up. Jeff Moden GUIDs. And you'll see that Jeff Moden did a black arts is what he called it. And this is, we'll just go into a little bit, get rid of the ad here. And basically, Jeff Moden did a presentation of GUIDs versus fragmentation. And you'll see the little rebar. There's a rebar symbol. That is his avatar. And it is a long talk. It is 2 hours and 20 minutes. He did it for a user group. He's done it several times, but the idea is that I ran into him and just wanted to thank him for this. We got chatting, and what I found out was he really didn't have any use or couldn't find a reason to do something for using PowerShell. He just couldn't get past it and figured out what he could do. And if you want to have some fun, this is a great talk. It is a lot of data. He spent hours and hours. But Jeff Moden is a great friend and a better friend now, as we spoke on Saturday. And I basically ran him through the principles of Dbatools and the things that we have in Dbatools. And it's very interesting, but he just couldn't think of things that he would do with PowerShell. So I thought, we're going to do something on Monday if we don't have any questions, which we don't, and you're welcome to chat. So the questions can be put in poll gab, and I'll post it again. Room DBAduck. You can post your questions here. Or you can ask them in chat if you want. Again, poll gab is nice just to keep them wrangled. And eventually when we get some more advertisement out there about these things happening and the training happening and stuff like that, we'll get more poll gab stuff because I want them to be upvoted like Brent Ozar uses them. But for now, the big thing I talked about Jeff Moden about is SMO. And SMO is a fun little thing, and at the core of Dbatools is SMO. That's really what Dbatools touts and does, and that's okay because SMO is written by Microsoft. It's called SQL Server Management Objects. It's available via NuGet package, so it's now distributed. It's actually open sourced. So there's a lot more that we can do with SMO than we used to be able to do, and the whole goal really is that SMO is a library that's written in .NET. It is compatible with .NET Framework in Core. So we actually do get the ability to use it on Linux. Dbatools actually runs on Linux as well, so I could run Dbatools from a Linux box and run what I want. But I can run it on Windows too. So we got talking about that, and he's like, yeah, I still don't know what that would be like and why I would use it. So we got talking about some of the things that Dbatools does. And he's really good at T-SQL. So he already has tons of things that he does with T-SQL, and he loves it. And T-SQL, that's his tool. Management Studio, Azure Data Studio, anything that runs a query, he can run queries. So we continued to talk. And some of the things that I love about Dbatools is in the area of scripting. So the idea is that if I had an index that I wanted to do something with, or just get a copy of it, he can't easily script an index from T-SQL. You can kind of, because ultimately SMO just emits T-SQL. And he wasn't sure that that's what he understood. He didn't understand that that's what it did, is emitted T-SQL, so that T-SQL can run against the agent or against the instance. And so for him, it was like, well, I get it. You're a PowerShell guy, and I appreciate everything you do and friendship and stuff. And the reality is that I just don't know. And I mentioned scripting, and we began the conversation about how that looks. And the one thing I love about Dbatools, I have many things I love about Dbatools, so don't get me wrong, there's tons of them. But one thing I love about Dbatools is they wrote into Dbatools this ability. Let's do a get module and just make sure we know where we're at. If I have to restart this instance, I will. I will restart this instance actually. So let me get out of here and just go back in Azure Data Studio, because I want to run Azure. I want to run Dbatools 2.0. Now that I've dispelled, last time we spoke last week, I dispelled the idea that we have a problem with the version of 2.0 not being able to connect to SQL and doing it well. So we're like, well, that's a bad thing. I'm not sure what's happening with my Azure Data Studio here, but we will exit out of it and try again. But the good thing about Dbatools is it does have a principle of allowing me to do more. Let's see, what do we have here? Get module again. Let's see what we have here. We only have, yeah, this is being really funky. I'm not sure if I just need to reboot the box. It is pending reboot. But we'll see if we can get this here. Come on, you can do it. And there we go. All right, get module. This is PowerShell 7, so let's see if we can go back to our PowerShell here. No, we don't want that. Our PowerShell here, let's see, get dash module. We only have PS readline now, so that's perfect. So we're going to import module Dbatools. And I appreciated the author of this certain function related to scripting. So I don't know how many of you have done lots of scripting with PowerShell and the SMO, but the thing I love is that the author get command module Dbatools with a name of star script. And we'll see the commands here. Export DBA script, which is a scripter. Cool. Get the new DBA scripting option. This is the one I love the very most. There is a saved DBA diagnostic query script, so we'll talk about that in a minute. But the scripting here is what I'm talking about. So there is an object in SMO about a scripting option. And the scripting options, we're going to get these like this: options equals new dash DBA scripting option. And we're just going to get that so we can show you what the object name is. So options get member. And the type is, it's long. It's got a lot of things on it. So if you notice, there's a lot of all these options are Boolean. So type them in, but, or yeah. So this is the class. So I could say, okay, forget it. We're not going to do this new DBA script option, which is this long. I'm going to do option equals new dash object with a type name of this big long one. Okay, so either way, it works. But I appreciated the fact that I don't have to remember this, and I don't have to do this. I just have to do new DBA scripting option, and I get a brand new scripting option that's set. Now, you would ask, well, what options do I have? There's not really a whole lot of options for new DBA scripting option because you don't have to. So we'll show you that. So help new dash DBA scripting option, show window. So pop that up. Come on, pop it up. There you go. And in here, there is basically nothing, right? There's no parameters. There's no, but Chrissy was friendly and nice enough to allow us to options equals new, and then options.script drops equals false with dependencies, blah, blah, blah. So you can just start setting these things and then export DBA script with scripting object of options, and it does the thing. So it's like so way cool. Agent jobs being scripted out, done. So now we're going to exit out of here because we're done with the help. But the idea is that if I have a database right here, and I have a DBA database, and I want to script out these tables, I can go into here and I can do get dash, DBA DB table with a SQL instance of, this one was on prod, right? Prod, yep, prod, SQL 1, SQL 01, and I can say database DBA, and if I execute this, you'll see that I get 4 tables. Oh, I might, yep, there we go, 4 tables. So, and I guess I could have done this where I did select name just to get the table. So I have 5 tables, command log import, iterations, dispace, and iterations. So I have those 4 tables. I could take this scripting options, okay, and I can take this options, $options, and do dot. And if I want to know what they are, remember we did a get member. So let's do include not exists. So here's include if not exists. So that's the flag we want to set, because by default it doesn't include if not exists. So we're going to do that. If not exists equals true. So what will happen is that this option will get set in these options. And when I pass them in, so I'm going to pipe these to export DBA script, and I'm going to say scripting option object as options. And that's it. And what comes out of it is, watch what happens. Boom, 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 boom. And we'll make sure we're in the right place. So here's our folder. So we'll open this in a new window. Here's our, oh, that's not what I meant. You know what? I'm going to do that. It's opening in a new Azure Data Studio window, but that means that I get to show it in here, which is nicer. So my folder structure here is right here, and my scripts are right here. So if I click in here and I maximize this guy here, you'll see that I have a blah 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 set ANSI nulls and identifier if not exists table, and then create table. That's beautiful. I get my script, and it's the script that goes with, and it even scripts out my collations. Now I can turn that off in the options, but again, my options, I did new dash DBA scripting option, and I get a new thing. I options dot, and I get this thing, and I export DBA script, and I automatically get this if not exists plus my script. And if it exists, then it doesn't do anything. It just says, okay, fine. Same thing with this guy here. Here's my command log import. Did the nice, oh, look, it gave me some iterations. So it did 2 in 1. It's prerogative. I mean, export DBA script does have an option to do whatever it wants to, however it was programmed, but it does an if not exists for this, and if not exists for this, And then I have this table, this thing, and it says stat disk-space. Here's my table, and my stat iterations. Here's this table. So all of a sudden, I get that in that one command. So in this command, this is the setup command. I get my new options, and I get my, right here, I get my option here, and I set it to be true if not exists, and then I do here. And all of a sudden I have tables. I can do a dir. It's basically doing a dir, right? Get-DBA table. If I wanted to script out procs, I could do get-DBA DB procedure. Get-DBA DB procedure. Nope, that's not it. DB procedure. Stored procedure, sorry, my bad. And I could get all the stored procs out of that database and pipe them to export DBA script, and I will get all my databases. Way stinking cool on the scripting part. But because of my options, which again are multiple, if I do this GM again, you'll see that there are a ton of objects. If I just want to see their names, I can just do a option, I believe FL star, and I get my properties here instead of just get member. So I get my properties that say default of false, 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 false 1. I mean, all these things are defaults, version 160. So I can do target server version scripted out for 2014 instead of 160, because I can do 150 for 2019, 140 for 2017, and on. So I get that option. I can do this for different. I can do the target database engine for enterprise or standard. If standard doesn't support compression, the compression just won't be on if I've turned it on in my primary key or whatever. So all of a sudden I have all these things that I can do. Primary object, I can do XML indexes, I can do full text indexes. I can do all sorts of things in here and allow me to control how things are scripted out. Now I can do it a different way. I can create my own scripter, and I can pass the options into that. But again, with a function that's already there for export DBA script, I can export it to a file. I can export it to the clipboard. I can do lots of things. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure I showed this because Jeff Moden and I spoke, and he wanted to see the big deal about PowerShell and what you can do with it that he can't do with T-SQL. And so there's lots of things here that we get to do. Login SID, if we don't want that, when we script out login, so get-DBA login script, an export DBA script, I get all of that. All sorts of stuff that I get to do, and which is way cool to be able to do that. I can script out my database even if I wanted to. So these are some really cool things that you get to do. Now you want to study these and figure out what you would ever do. Append to file, so you can actually have the scripter create a file instead of Dbatools creating a file. You can script them out to just text, and so you can do something with them. I typically script them out with a scripter. In this case, I don't, because I have the ability to have unique file names coming out. The one thing I don't get to control is that, notice you saw that in the list of files that it's 3 files instead of 5, and 2 of them were in the same file. Maybe you don't like that. Maybe you want to be able to have them in each one of the files, which again, you're welcome to do with a scripter or even with tweaking of export, because here's our scenario here. If we go back to our window and we say same thing here, except we're going to go with export DBA DB script. Whoops, DBA script. And do this so we can see the help window. We know that it can be appended to files. So you can do files, you can do batch separators for goes or not goes, enable exceptions, encoding, so you're encoding for your file. File path is where the output file goes. I didn't do the file path, so it did one for me in my Windows documents directory, so that was all right. The input object, obviously, if you pipe things in, which is what we do, it's a SQL management object. I pipe it in, and it does what it needs to do. So if I do get DBA login and pass it in, it will script out the logins. No clobber means that if I find a file that's the same name, don't do it. And no prefix, pass through, path, and scripting scripting options object. That gives me some ability to put them into my files. Export apparently cannot do them to text. If you wanted to do text, you could create your own scripter. So this is the help for that. So you just look at this guy and say smo.scripter. And scripter is a class. And the class basically says you create a scripter, and it derives from dependency walker, which is, here's the cool part about dependency walker. And again, this would already be done inside export DBA script, so don't get panicky. But the idea is that I can create a scripter with a server and say I'm going to deal with a dependency tree and do them in order. I have a blog. Well, I had a blog post. That SQL blog is gone, but I will try to see if I can find it. That'll be a good one. I basically did a scripter that walked the dependencies. So dependencies is this. Sometimes when you create a stored procedure, the table does not exist. So in SQL, it cannot create a dependency object that says, hey, you created the stored procedure, it had a table in it, so I'm going to create a dependency that says this table is in, it depends, the stored proc depends on this table, which allows you to know that it has a dependency, which means you will script out the table first and then the proc, because you go backwards, right? The proc depends on the table, you script out the table so it exists before the proc is scripted out, and sometimes you can't do that. Sometimes the proc was created before the table, there's no dependency. But this dependency walker actually can detect dependencies, which is super freaking cool. But I'm not sure how it does it behind the scenes because I've not looked at that, but basically it lets me enum the script or stuff like that. So the scripter can script things off with the dependencies. And like I said, I'll try to grab that blog post I did a long time ago with the Wayback Machine and see if I can find it. But I was challenged, and this was back in SQL 2005 days, or yeah, 2005, 2008 days. And I wrote this PowerShell script that did it, and it was way super cool. But that's what the scripter does, is walk dependencies. So there's a walk dependency thing, script, and it says, where'd it go? Dependency walker here. Nope, I don't see it right offhand. Walk dependencies. Here's the walk dependencies. And it's really cool that it does it. But the idea is this. I can do it myself with scripter if I intend to do something with it. Here's what happens with scripter, or there's even an easier way if you've ever done this. So let me get -dba db table. Let's right here, and we'll just run this. We'll put it in a variable, var equals, and we'll just run this first part to get the 4 or 5 tables. And in var, you'll see that I have these tables. Okay, so now var 0 and said pipe to, no, just get type. And get type is a table, so it's an SMO table. Okay, so that's great. If I said I wanted to script them, I could say var 0.script. And guess what I get? I get a script. Okay, there's no if not exists. I would have to pipe or I'd have to send that options in, Sarah. Let's do that. So options. And because I did the options, guess what happened? I got my if not exists, because the option of include not if not exist is there in the options. And so now I get to script out with that, with the script. So the object, most every object in SMO has a script option. So between Dbatools giving me a new scripting option, which is fantastic, or doing the export DBA script is just an awesome way to get scripts out of your database and store them somewhere. My favorite way, the reason I had to learn this stuff way back when is because I had some developers who built a database and required replication. And they had a replica that they would create indexes on and not put them in the main one because the main one wouldn't need those indexes. And so they were only for reporting or other reasons. So they put these indexes on this database, and they said, okay, we need to reinitialize the subscriptions to refresh or to make sure that we're not doing anything bad, or we did something to the main tables and we need to redo the replication and send it down. Well, when you redo replication and you reinitialize the subscription, it literally drops the tables. And if you drop a table that has indexes, guess what happens? It drops everything, right? It drops the indexes too because you dropped the table. So indexes, defaults, everything that were attached to that table are gone. And then it proceeds to do a BCP and creates that table, and then proceeds to dump the data into that table. So while that's really cool, what ended up happening is it only happened a couple times where they didn't save off the indexes to put them back on themselves. So I wrote a script that basically went down the road of scripting off every index of every table / article in the replication set, put them in a folder so that when we got done reinitializing the subscription, I had include if not exists in each file for each index. So I just did a dir of the files and then did invoke-DBA query and said file, the file parameter, and put the path to that file. And it used the file instead of a query, and whatever one existed, it would leave it alone. Everyone that didn't exist, it would create it. Well, it beats the heck out of figuring it out by manually going through some compare or something. It's terrible. So it just made it easy. I scripted out the thing, put it in a folder with a name, and then I dirred in, for each, and then did a invoke-DBA query, and I got my indexes back. So scripting became really powerful. I just love that I don't have to code in code. I can just use Dbatools and say new DBA scripting option and export DBA script with all my indexes because they are SMO objects, and it can handle any SMO object that gets passed in, and it will just execute the script thing with the options. That's all I had to do. And it creates me a file for each one of them, and I can do a dir. Now, if I was doing procs and tables and I was trying to sync up a database, I would care about the dependencies because I can't create an index on a table that doesn't exist, right? So I'd have to do tables first, and then I might do proc. So there's reasons why you can and can't do them in a certain order. But that would all be in the script so that when they said, hey, we want to reinitialize, all I have to do is run that script. I get all my stuff back. It's in a folder. When they get done, it has numbers on the front for order or whatever, or I have folders for tables, indexes, and I just do them in order. I'm done. I have a script that just is dynamic. If I added 10 indexes that week and I had to reinitialize subscription, I'd get those 10 because I'd export DBA script with the export of my indexes and tables. And all of a sudden, I get the new 10 indexes that are part of my new repository of things that I have in there. So all of a sudden, great things happen when I initialize, when I rebuild replication, when I do other things and I just want them back, I can put them back. So exporting scripts, I can actually literally duplicate a database with scripts with an empty database. I can actually script that out and have it put back as an empty database. No data, just structure. Because I have the power to script, and I can do it in a methodical way in a script with Dbatools. And I don't have to remember how to do that again. I don't have to write the SMO code. I don't have to do anything. I just run these two statements in Dbatools and I'm done. Or I do the new DBA scripting option, and then I use that in .script in each object I want to script. And now it's my favorite scripting option set. There's a lot more to it than just the things I use for include if not exist. It includes schema, and there's all sorts of things that you can set in this scripting option. The beautiful thing is that, did you know you can export it into a CSV, or you can export it, and so you can rehydrate and scripting option object, and all of a sudden now I just store my favorites. Way super cool in the import world of PowerShell is I can store my state and bring it back. And that way I don't have to remember what my options are. I just go get them. And they're in a CSV or they're in a XML or they're in some format that I can just export and import and I have an object. So anyway, that was what I had for you today with DBA Tools, is scripting with DBA Tools. 2 functions, new -DBA scripting option and and then export -DBA script using the scripting option object and passing that in. Way super cool. So hopefully that was helpful. DBA Tools still rocks. There's so much to do with that. Hopefully you'll get a chance to play and test that out and make that your new fun tool when you do that. Until next time, we will wish you a good luck in becoming a PowerShell DBA. Join me in that quest. We are going to be the best PowerShell DBA ever. Thank you very much for your time and have a great rest of your evening. Bye-bye.